What's up, guys? Welcome to Smart Tips and Tricks. I'm Jamison Crast, and this week we have a cool series for you. We're going to build the 1,000-yard gun for under $1,000, and we're going to do it all with parts made right here in the USA. So stay tuned. All right, guys, so we just got back from Texas at the Outdoor Solutions range. We took this gun right here and we shot it at 300, 500 to 1,000 yards. She performed flawlessly. So now we're back in the studio and I'm gonna break down exactly what we did to get this gun to shoot that way. But if you guys wanna see exactly how the gun performed, skip all this and get right to the field, check out the link above and see how this gun right here performed, all put together with parts made in the US of A. So guys, in making this setup, remember we were tasked with two things here. Had to be under $1,000, fully set up and done, excluding tax, and it needed to be all made right here in the USA. So starting with the rifle, we went with the Ruger American, chambered in a 6.5 Creedmoor. Phenomenal rifle, shoots great, great trigger, no complaints at all. From the scopes, start narrowing it down, what's made in here in the USA, boom, Leupold. So this scope right here is the VX Freedom series in a 4 to 12 by 40. Awesome scope, lifetime guarantee, and the little part right there, designed and manufactured in the USA. Next part is the rings. Again, sticking Leupold here. These are the precision fit rings. So with these right here, everything coming in under $1,000. Now the fun part starts. Let's put it together. All right, guys, so the Ruger American, like I said, this is the Ruger American Predator, chambered in a 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, one thing to note that plays into the cost, plays into all of this when you're building this comes with a pick rail attached. Okay, so a lot of rifles, bolt action rifles, don't come with this pick rail. So depending on what you're building, you're gonna have to find one designed for that model. Now, the nice part about the Ruger American is they already put this on here, so it's one less piece of equipment I've got to buy. So the first thing here that you're gonna need is you're gonna need some sort of a vise. I have worked with various models. This vise right here is solid. Whether you're working on AR, shotgun, muzzleloader, it's great. But you're gonna want this somewhat level right now. We're gonna get into the fine tuning later, but just so you can work on it, get it in a comfortable spot, get it fairly tight. Now for the scope, we went with the Leupold VX Freedom. This is their 4 to 12 by 40. The duplex reticle. And also notice that it has the new CDS system so you can dial. Okay, that's gonna come in down the road when we take this to the range. And last, with the Leupold precision fit bases, we went with a medium. Now I'll explain to you what that means and where that plays in. Now keep in mind 1-inch medium rings here. So we got the gun in the vise. We have not worried about anything level yet. We got the rings ready to roll. Now this is where you're gonna need some extra equipment. So what I use is the Wheeler level right here, okay? This is a 2-part series. Get it at your local sporting goods store. And the point of this is to make sure that the gun is level to start with. Once your gun is level, when you put the scope on, you can make sure that your reticle is level, okay? So that's a crucial part, and you're really gonna notice it when you start shooting distance. All right, so that's where this little guy comes in. We're putting him on here. We want this to be level this way. So looking, he's not level right there, so we're gonna adjust this. Loosen that. And right there, that's level. Now that's where this part comes in, okay? This is the barrel end. So we're gonna take this, go down here to the end of the barrel. What this is gonna do is it's gonna let us remove the one there so we can put the bases on the pick rail, and this is gonna maintain the level of the rifle. Let us know that it's still level. So we clamp the bottom part down. Then you can take this part right here, tighten it or loosen it, and you can see that this is moving the bubble. Got it. So that bubble's right there perfectly in the center. Come back here, check this one. Perfect. So these two right here are saying the exact same thing, speaking the same language. Boom, boom, level, level. Now that lets us take this guy, set him off to the side for when we put the scope on. So now we've got this rifle in here clamped off, tightened down. We know that it's level here. This is what we're gonna be referencing from here on out. Now we go back to our scope rings. Now this, I'm not doing this perfectly. We're just getting these on here because we're gonna move everything back and forth. So, got the bases on here, but not tightened down. Now we're gonna check the scope. Obviously make sure that this is the adjustable part here with the magnification to your eye. We're setting this on here. Okay, and what I'm looking for here is I want to make sure that when you slide this back and forth, we don't want this part of the ring touching the bell of the scope. Okay, for example, this right here would not be good. That would not work. At the same time, this can't be touching. We don't want this touching this. Right around here, we don't want this touching this, okay? So you're gonna have to find, it's a little dance here. You wanna find the base where they're not touching, the right distance apart. Right there, solid. It's on the tube. Right there, I would live with that. Now, the last thing that I'm gonna do quick while this is touching is I'm gonna slide in behind the gun, and this is where you're checking your eye relief. We're gonna dial this in because I know I have room to scoot this scope at least 3/4 of an inch forward and backwards, okay? So this does not need to be perfect. But right now I'm gonna slide in behind the gun and rest my cheek just like I were getting down behind it and make sure that my eye relief is perfect. Now when you're talking about your eye relief, basically what that is when you get your eye behind it, are you seeing just a little bit of fuzz all the way around the scope, or are you able to see the perfect clear picture? The entire scope, the entire ring of the scope has an image in it, okay? So you're gonna get in behind here. That's close. I actually could bring it back a hair. So what I'm gonna do is move him back one, move him back a slot. Get back on here, get in behind the gun. Right in there, I'm liking it. All right, so now we're going back here to the level because I was touching the gun. See how this is just a hair off, so we're adjusting this. Okay, so our bubble's level. Now we can go ahead and take these off. All right, so now that we've got this roughed, this is where we're gonna use the next part here. This is a torque wrench, okay? We're gonna use this by Wheeler, and you're gonna find the right end that works with your bases. All right, so what this is gonna let us do is these bases, these rings all have a spec in which you can torque it down to, okay? You can over torque them, you can under torque them. You can break these rings, okay? I've done it. Doesn't work out well. All right, guys, so on these rings, if you look carefully, every single set comes with the torque instructions inside, okay? So this tells you where we want to take this. If you read here, it tells you want to tighten the screws to 25 inch-pounds, okay? So that's crucial so that you don't over-tighten or under-tighten and break these rings. So on this tool right here, all we're doing is cranking this down, setting it to 25. Okay, now when you get to 25 pounds, you got a slip clutch, it will not let you go any further. So we've got these rings on here. We're just gonna slowly start tightening these up, okay? You're gonna bring it down. Now one crucial part in this is you gotta think about the recoil of the gun, okay? When you shoot, the gun is gonna come back. So what is this gonna wanna do? This is gonna wanna stay right here. It's gonna wanna slide forward, right? So if I were to have this all the way back, okay, and then this gun slid, it's got room to move, right? If I have this all the way up against towards the muzzle of the gun, when I start tightening this down, as the recoil comes backwards, this has got nowhere to go. It's already up against this rail, okay, in the slot. So that's a crucial little thing that I've messed up in the past at least, and I know a lot of others have. So when you're setting this, slide it all the way up against the top, slide it all the way up against towards the front, and just start tightening this down. So all that right there is snug, okay? Same thing with this guy. We know roughly where our spacing is. We're sliding him all the way up to the front, can't go any further. And I'm just gonna slowly start tightening him down. Just touching there. Just touching there. Go back and forth, just touching each one of these. Now, some of you might be saying, well, how come you're not putting Loctite on there? And a lot of people do. I normally do when I'm building the rifle, but for this rifle right here, we're actually giving this away at the end of this whole series, okay? Somebody will walk away with this entire gun setup exactly as it is today, plus a Harris bipod. So because of that, their eye relief might be different. So I'm not gonna put any Loctite on here in case they need to go back through and move these screws and these bases and the rings. Just going back and forth. Now here's where you can crank it down, okay? So again, we set this to 25 inch-pounds because that's what the spec said for the torques. Now I'm gonna twist. Twist. Now if you notice, you cannot over crank it, okay? Just keep slipping. So, Wheeler makes these, a lot of different companies make these. Valuable little tool if you're gonna be building guns. Now, we got these babies set. So, getting back to our scope. Getting the scope set on here. We know roughly where it was for our eye relief, okay? Setting the tops on. Now the tops, if you notice, like I said, this is a 1-inch scope. The tube is. They come in 1 inch, they come in 34 millimeters, and they come in 30 millimeters. You're gonna want your rings to match whatever the tube of the scope is. So I'm setting these guys on here. They have 4 screws. Now these also, in a normal scenario, I were building this gun to go hunt with tomorrow, I would be putting Loctite on these because somebody's gonna be winning them or not. So now that I've got this, I'm just gonna slowly just touch these screws right here. Just to get them in there so the scope doesn't go freewheeling, all right? Now this is also gonna be in the instructions, but you're gonna wanna do a crisscross pattern when we come down to it, and I'll show you that again when we get tightening these. But I'm not cranking anything down, just touching them right there. Now that we got this scope on here, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna take this level. Again, this is right here in the bubbles right here in the middle, tells us the gun is level. Now we need our reticles to be level as well. So setting it right on top here, this is perfectly level. And I'm gonna adjust this scope until that's level. So again, we're verifying with these 2 bubbles. Level, level, bubbles in the center. Now again, back to the torque specs. I have seen rings that are different, where the base screws, you might screw to 35, the top to 25, vice versa. So check that. This set, both are going to 25 inch-pounds. So now we're doing the crisscross method, okay? We're gonna start, I'm gonna go here to here, and then I'm gonna go here to here. Boom, 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 crisscross, okay? What that's doing is you not just crank it down one side, and then this one's not being cranked down, and then you crank this one down. You're going 1, 2, 3, 4, crisscross method, okay? And I'm gonna slowly, this is not a quick process. I'm cranking a little bit, coming over to this one. Now one thing that we want to maintain here that you're going to notice is the spacing on each side of these rings, okay? So what I mean by that is if you look right here, there's a little bit of space. You're going to want the same side, the same spacing on each side. You don't want these cramped down where one's farther on this side and one's not on this side, okay? You also don't want to take the little wrench that it came with and just crank these down as tight as you can. You can mess up your scope rings, which I've done. You can mess up your scope, which I've done. So look, I'm trying to save you guys a little money here. Do not over crank. Get yourself one of these, it's worth it, okay? So like I said, we're going crisscross method, back and forth. Maintaining spacing on each side, just a little at a time. Little at a time. So now I'm just starting to get a little bit of resistance. So now here's where, if you over crank this, it will actually twist this scope in here. So this is where I'm watching this here, okay? So we're coming there, come back here. You're just gonna work back and forth. Okay, verifying both levels, continually checking them, checking your spacing. Okay, now I got the resistance, taking it to its set. Set. All right, if you look right there, the bubble's perfectly centered. The bubble's perfectly centered. My front is set. Now we're coming back here to the back and just gonna do the exact same thing. Crisscross method, maintaining spacing on each side of the ring here. Slowly crank this down. Now this one's a little easier because in theory, the front of the scope's already cranked down, so this should not be moving much, twisting left and right. It's still possible too. Okay, we're looking bubble centered, crank down to 25 inch-pounds. Now I just like to go through for peace of mind, check all these. All right guys, so real quick, let's go back through what we've done. We got the rifle, we put it in the vise, we then leveled it using the Wheeler leveling system, okay? Then we took our bases. We adjusted our bases based off our eye relief to where they need to be so that they're not touching the bell or the turret or the rear end of the scope. We then put the top of the rings on. We read the instructions that we need to go to 25 inch-pounds is what our torque is. We used our Wheeler torque wrench and we went down through here in a crisscross pattern and we torqued all these to 25 inch-pounds, same with the base onto the pick rail. So now this scope is leveled with this. We can now take this off, set him aside, and now for all intents and purposes, this scope is mounted, leveled, and ready to go. So the only thing we have left now to do is bore sight it.